Hey crew, it's Pitt and I am back with some more Esoterica. Today we are diving back into the works of Mr. Charles Haanel. This is the Master Key System. We are on chapter 21. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various points that are brought to light by the text. It's not the format for everyone, but some people seem to find enjoyment in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in the terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, in the box down below, along with the original source material, so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things I do. With that being said, we are going to dive in and continue our exploration of the Master Key System with part 21. This part explains how we may come into possession of power sufficient to meet every situation which may arise in life. It explains that the ability to eliminate imperfect conditions depends upon mental action. That is mental alchemy, see the ancient lore playlist. It explains that great ideas have a tendency to eliminate smaller ideas, so that it is well to hold ideals which are large enough to counteract and destroy all small or undesirable tendencies. This is one of the secrets of success, one of the accomplishments of the master mind. It explains that the creative energy finds no more difficulty in handling a large situation than a small one. It explains how conditions are produced in our lives by the predominant thoughts which we entertain. It explains how you may set causes in motion which will create an irresistible magnetic power, which will bring the things you require to you. It explains the issue between the old regime and the new. It explains the crux of the social problem. It explains the true secret of health, wealth, and power. Introduction, Part 21. In paragraph 7 of this part, you will find that one of the secrets of success, one of the methods of organizing victory, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind is to think big thoughts. In paragraph 8, you will find that everything which we hold in our consciousness for any length of time becomes impressed upon our subconsciousness, and so becomes a pattern which the creative energy will weave into our life and environment. This is the secret of the wonderful power of prayer. We know that the universe is governed by law, that for every effect there must be a cause, and that the same cause, under the same conditions, will invariably produce the same effect. Consequently, if prayer has ever been answered, it will always be answered, if the proper conditions are complied with. That is dangerous. We will see where that goes, but that is a dangerous presupposition right there. This must necessarily be true, otherwise the universe would be a chaos instead of a cosmos. The answer to prayer is therefore subject to law, and this law is definite, exact, and scientific, just as are the laws governing gravitation and electricity. An understanding of this law takes the foundation of Christianity out of the realm of superstition and credulity and places it upon the firm rock of scientific understanding. See the unconventional Bible study? I am almost certain I am going to step on toes as we go through this one. But unfortunately, there are comparatively few persons who know how to pray. That is true. They understand that there are laws governing electricity, mathematics, and chemistry, but for some inexplicable reason, it never seems to occur to them that there are also spiritual laws, and that these laws are also definite, scientific, exact, and operate with immutable precision. And that is the perfect opportunity to bring up the actual laws. These are the laws of creation. This is how it works. This is the laws that govern both karma and manifestation. The law of the one states that everything is one. The law of momentum says that everything is in motion. The law of response says that there will be a response to any action. The law of returns governs what that response will be. The law of attraction says that like attracts like. The law of gender says that there is masculine and feminine in all things. The law of rhythm says that what goes up must come down. And the law of purpose says that everything has a purpose, even things which seem to be misaligned. An understanding of these laws, I have explained them in the video which will be linked, will give you a better understanding of how to do the things that you are actually trying to do if you are watching this video. We're going to see what they say, but I have spent an awful lot of time on this, and I have actually done the thing right. I have actually manifested in my life. I have healed both my throat and my shoulder through the power of God by manifesting. So I do have a small measure of authority in this. All right, let's swap them on back. Part 21. The real secret of power is consciousness of power. That is in large part true. The universal mind is unconditional. Therefore, the more conscious we become of our unity with this mind, the less conscious we shall become of conditions and limitations. And as we become emancipated or freed from conditions, we come into a realization of the unconditional. We have become free. Now, I'm going to take a second to remind you that whenever you see the universal mind, that is talking about God. God is the Holy Spirit, which is the ever-pervading electromagnetic processes which hold all things together. God is all things. He is me. He is you. He is the space between me and you and the space between me and you. He is everything you can see and everything that you cannot. He is what allows the now to become the next. As soon as we become conscious of the inexhaustible power in the world within, we begin to draw on this power and apply and develop the greater possibilities which this discernment has realized. Because whatever we become conscious of is invariably manifested in the objective world, is brought forth into tangible expression. This is because the infinite mind, which is the source from which all things proceed, is one and indivisible, and each individual is a channel whereby the eternal energy is being manifested. Okay, so direct contradiction in the same sentence. The infinite mind, which is the source from which all things proceed, is one and indivisible. Yes, and each individual is a channel by which it is divided. Yes, it is true, right? We are here as an individualized piece of divinity. I'm not a fan of how this was phrased. We are all part of God. We are all here to have an experience. We are all here to learn some lessons. We are all here to do things. Each one of us has a different thing to do, so thereby we are individualized. We are all from God, however, so we are all one. It's the indivisible part that gets me, right? You cannot be separated from God unless you choose to be, but for the most part, while you are here, you are separate from me, right? That is divided. Even if you don't really look at it that way, because all is one, and that is a truth, the individualized section of you is why you are here. Not so that we can be not, right? We are separate. We are doing different things. We each have our own path. We have our own goals. We have our own lessons. We each have our own thing that God has called us to do here. Each and every one of us. And so I just don't really like the way it was phrased, more than anything. But our ability to think is our ability to act upon this universal substance, and what we think is what is created or produced in the objective world. The result of this discovery is nothing less than marvelous, and means that mind is extraordinary in quality, limitless in quantity, and contains possibilities without number. To become conscious of this power is to become a live wire. It has the same effect as placing an ordinary wire in contact with a wire that is charged. The universal is the live wire. It carries power sufficient to meet every situation which may arise in the life of every individual. When the individual mind touches the universal mind, it receives all the power it requires. This is the world within. All science recognizes the reality of this world, and all power is contingent upon our recognition of this world. The ability to eliminate imperfect conditions depends upon mental action, and mental action depends upon consciousness of power. Therefore, the more conscious we become of our unity with the source of all power, the greater will be our power to control and master every condition. That is mostly true, right? The more that you align yourself with God, the more that you will be able to do. That is true. Mental action doesn't necessarily depend upon consciousness of power, You can go through life with no concept that you actually have power whatsoever. People do it all of the time. So depending upon mental action, that is definitely a necessity. The imperfect conditions depend upon mental action. That is mental alchemy. Again, see the ancient lore playlist where we talked about that in Hermes Trismegistus. But the greater your power to control and master every condition is dependent upon you aligning yourself correctly. That is true. And the alignment there is to be with God, right? With the source, with the one. That is the goal, to align yourself with your best possible timeline, the best possible path forward for you. And the more that you can align yourself with that, the more effective it will be to try to do things. You're not going to try to call in things that are against the plan if you are walking with the plan. Large ideas have a tendency to eliminate all smaller ideas, so that it is well to hold ideas large enough to counteract and destroy all small or undesirable tendencies. This will remove innumerable petty and annoying obstacles from your path. You also become conscious of a larger world as thought, thereby increasing your mental capacity as well as placing yourself in a position to accomplish something of value. This is about making sure that you are towards the positive, right? Whatever you focus on is what is going to come. If you are focusing on the positive, then the positive will come in. And if you are focusing on the negative, then the negative is what's going to appear. Holding these large thoughts is blocking out the negative. That's the mechanics that's happening here. So yes, absolutely. And don't let anybody tell you that your dreams are too big, right? I've had that problem several times in my life. Whatever you can conceive of, you can achieve. It may take time. There may be additional resources that you need. That's the current situation I am in. I have a whole game that I want to build, but it is a little bit too big for just me to build. So I'm calling more crew members. I am aligning myself with what is going to bring me the ability to make this game in the manner that I want it made. I'm not going to let people tell me, well, you shouldn't make this game. It's too big. Make a different game. No. This is the game that I was given. This is the game that I'm going to do. I'm going to hold this big idea as long as it takes to make it happen. I'm not going to settle for less. And that goes not just for the game, for many things. Don't settle for less. If you have the big dream, work on the big dream. Don't let nobody tell you that it needs to be smaller. This is one of the secrets of success. One of the methods of organizing victory, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind. He thinks big thoughts. The creative energies of mind find no more difficulty in handling large situations than small ones. Mind is just as much present in the infinitely large as in the infinitely small. When we realize these facts concerning mind, we understand how we may bring to ourselves any condition by creating the corresponding conditions in our consciousness. Because everything which is held for any length of time in the consciousness eventually becomes impressed upon the subconscious, and thus becomes a pattern which the creative energy will weave into the life and environment of the individual. And again, yes, the things that you hold are the things that will appear. So if you are holding big ideas, they will come, whether they're positive or negative. Try to hold big positive ideas, and then big positive results will result. If you are holding small ideas, then you're going to wind up with small results. That's just mechanics, right? The law of returns. In this way, conditions are produced, and we find that our lives are simply the reflection of our predominant thoughts, our mental attitude. We see then that the science of correct thinking is the one science, that it includes all other sciences. From this science, we learn that every thought creates an impression in the brain, that these impressions create mental tendencies, and these tendencies create character, ability, and purpose, and that the combined action of character, ability, and purpose determines the experiences with which we shall meet in life. Yes. These experiences come to us through the law of attraction. Through the law of the action of this law, we meet in the world without the experiences which correspond to our world within. Now, again, he doesn't have quite the entire, he doesn't have the 8 laws. He is trying to cram them all into the one. And so this is true, right? They do come to you through the law of attraction, but it comes through you through all 8 of the laws, not just the one. The predominant thought or the mental attitude is the magnet, and the law is that like attracts like. Consequently, the mental attitude will invariably attract such conditions as corresponds to its nature. Yes, and it will be amplified by the law of returns, and the fact that you get a response is from the law of response, and then everything moves as part of the law of movement. All of these things, or the law of momentum, all of these things play into it, right? And it's not just one single part of the law. Yes, like attracts like. Yes, things of a similar nature tend to cluster. Yes, that is true. But there are other factors involved in getting the correct results. This mental attitude is our personality, and it is composed of the thoughts which we have been creating in our own mind. Therefore, if we wish a change in conditions, all that is necessary, all that is necessary is to change our thought. This will, in turn, change our mental attitude, which will, in turn, change our personality, which will, in turn, change the persons, things, and conditions, or the experiences with which we meet in life. That is almost entirely true, right? There are external circumstances which play a part, but the way that you focus is the way that you go. If you are looking in this direction, you're going to be walking in this direction. You might vary a little bit to the side, right? You may weave, but you are mainly going in this direction. You're not going in that direction. That what you focus on is your mental attitude, right? That is how you manifest yourself, right? By choosing that I am going to focus on the positive and eliminating the negative, then you are choosing that your attitude will be the positive. That is part of mental alchemy. Once again, see the Ancient Lore playlist. So, yes, I do agree, right? It does matter what you think. It does. Every single thought, even the small ones, right? Even the ones that are slightly negative, you need to grab hold of and turn around, take it in prayer, and then make it a positive one. Figure out where the positive lies in every single negative thought. That is how you change your thought patterns. The thought patterns play a more predominant part than your conscious thoughts because you are impressing your subconscious with them. So, yes. If you wish a change in conditions, change your thought. It will in turn change your mental attitude and change your personality. I am living proof that that happens. It is, however, no easy matter to change the mental attitude, but by persistent effort it may be accomplished. The mental attitude is patterned after the mental pictures which have been photographed on the brain. If you do not like the pictures, destroy the negatives and create new pictures. This is the art of visualization. Hiccups. And once again, I'm going to point out, as I have several times throughout this playlist, sorry, I'm getting rid of the hiccups, that you do not have to be able to visualize and able to do these things, right? Aphantasia exists. They did not know that then. They assumed that everybody had the exact same capacity, but that's not true. Some people have no ability to visualize. You can still do the manifestation process even if you don't have visualization. It is still a matter of taking control of these thoughts, changing them intentionally, repeatedly, until it becomes the pattern. That is a process, right? I've told you before, and I'm going to tell you again. Whenever those negative patterns show up, and you start hearing, well, I'm not worthy, you turn that around. You take that to God. God, I'm giving this thought to you. Turn this around for me. I am worthy. And start saying, I am worthy, instead of saying, I am not worthy. It is the same for all of the thoughts. Every single negative thought that comes into your mind, you must flip it. Take it in prayer first, because that helps to reinforce it in your mind. You are part of God. You are expressing to Him the thing which you do desire. You desire to be worthy. I am worthy. That is how that works. That is the mechanics of it. As soon as you have done this, you will begin to attract new things. And the new things will correspond to the new pictures. To do this, impress on the mind the perfect picture of the desire which you wish to have objectified, and continue to hold the picture in mind until results are obtained. And again, not everybody can visualize. I think that my effort there is going to be a little bit better than this one. Right? You can change the pictures, but if you are not reinforcing it, it's not going to happen. You don't have to have the pictures. Saying it aloud, something pretty much everybody can do. Not everybody. Some people can't speak, right? Those people tend to not be able to hear either, so they're not really listening to this. But it is a pattern that you have to impress upon yourself, and whether that is with pictures or with words, you still need to do it. If the desire is one which requires determination, ability, talent, courage, power, or any other spiritual power, these are necessary essentials for your picture. Build them in. They are the vital part of the picture. They are the feeling which combines with thought and creates the irresistible magnetic power which draws the thing you require to you. They give your picture life, and life means growth. And as soon as it begins to grow, the result is practically assured. Do not hesitate to aspire to the highest possible attainments in anything you may undertake, for the mind forces are ever ready to lend themselves to a purposeful will in the effort to crystallize its highest aspirations into acts, accomplishments, and events. And again, don't be scared to dream big. That does not mean that you're going to get the big dream right away. Sometimes there are smaller steps involved, and you can take the smaller steps as you are working on the bigger picture. But keep your bigger picture. It is given to you for a reason. An illustration of how these mind forces operate is suggested by the method in which all our habits are formed. We do a thing, then do it again and again and again, until it becomes easy and perhaps almost automatic. And the same rule applies in breaking any and all bad habits. We stop doing a thing and then avoid it again and again until we are entirely free from it. And if we do fail now and then, we should by no means lose hope, for the law is absolute and invincible, and gives us credit for every effort and every success, even though our efforts and successes are perhaps intermittent. Yes, and like we've already said that. This is why I'm going to wind up a short one, because we have covered this so many times that we're pretty much done with it. We're going to finish the series, but there is no limit to what this law can do for you. Dare to believe in your own ideal. Remember that nature is plastic to the ideal. Think of the ideal as an already accomplished fact. I agree. The real battle of life is one of ideas. It is being fought out by the few against the many. On the one side is the constructive and creative thought. On the other side is the destructive and negative thought. The creative thought is dominated by an ideal. The passive thought is dominated by appearances. On both sides are men of science, men of letters, and men of affairs. And you should be seeking more knowledge. You should never be seeking to remain ignorant. And if you are seeking to gain more knowledge, then you will be holding to the higher ideal. Sometimes that is going to require you to be corrected. Some things that you believe firmly within yourself are not true, and not objectively true. So even though you believe it, doesn't mean that it is real. You should be seeking the real. The real is the constructive. The constructive is the part that creates. Holding on to patterns simply because they have been there for your entire life is the destructive. That is the negative. That is not building new, but holding on to old. There is value in holding on to old things as long as it is a true thing. Once again, see the unconventional Bible study. On the creative side are men who spend their time in laboratories or over microscopes or telescopes, side by side with the men who dominate the commercial, political, and scientific world. On the negative side are men who spend their time investigating law and precedent, men who mistake theology for religion, statesmen who mistake might for right, and all the millions who seem to prefer precedent to progress, who are eternally looking backward instead of forward, who see only the world without, but know nothing of the world within. Yes. Now, not all of the creatives are in the laboratories. There are a lot of people holding on to the old in the laboratories. Now, maybe that wasn't true in his day, right? This was 1917. We were well over 100 years from then. Now, there are a lot of people holding to the dogmas that the inability to formulate new thoughts is holding back science in a very real way. There are people out there doing it, but they are the minority. Most of the people who are involved in the scientific processes these days are not really truly seeking new. They're still arguing about things that are probably not even real, right? Black holes almost certainly do not exist, not in the way that they have been conceptualized. Existence is a toroid. What we consider a black hole is simply a funnel. It is taking this and moving it way over there, spitting it out into a spot where it is creating new, right? So the old goes in, the new comes out. That is not the concept of what is going on out there. And yes, I can be wrong, right? I am not a scientist. But that conceptualization is a much, much more intelligent one than the black hole theory. There are a lot of things along that nature that are taken for fact, even though they are not fact. Nobody has ever been to a black hole, right? I'm telling you, I have a theory, right? I have a theory that the entirety of the existence is a toroid, that nothing is created or destroyed, that nothing can contain the energy in a finite manner. So if it is being put into a black hole, it must be coming out somewhere. That is speculation. I am willing to be corrected. Let's take a ship and let's go check out a black hole. Let's see what it actually is. We are coming to a new understanding of science in a variety of things. The James Webb Telescope has brought a whole lot of brand new things that much of science is still saying is impossible. So not everybody is the people who spend their time in laboratories or over microscopes and telescopes, right? Most of the people who are in power are there for the power. And most of the people who are in control of the peer review system are in power. And they have built their entire career off of a theory. And that theory cannot be challenged in the peer review system. It is a vicious cycle. It is a vicious circle. And it is something that we need to be aware of because we do have the ability to affect change in that. It's going to take a lot to make that happen, right? When Copernicus came out with his theory, he was severely punished for that. When Galileo came out with his, he was severely punished for that. That is not uncommon, and it still happens today. In the last analysis, there are but these two classes. All men will have to take their place on one side or the other. They will have to go forward or go back. There is no standing still in a world where all is motion. It is this attempt to stand still that gives sanction and force to arbitrary and unequal codes of law. That's what I was just talking about. That we are in a period of transition is evidenced by the unrest which is everywhere apparent. The complaint of humanity is, as a roll of heaven's artillery, commencing with low and threatening notes, and increasing until the sound is sent from cloud to cloud, and the lightning rends the air and earth. That is just waxing poetic. The sentries who patrol the most advanced outpost of the industrial, political, and religious world are calling anxiously to each other. What of the night? The danger and insecurity of the position they occupy and attempt to hold is becoming more apparent every hour. The dawn of a new era necessarily declares that the existing order of things cannot much longer be. And the existing order was indeed turned over, right? There has been significant advancements since 1917. The jet engine, rocket propulsion, satellite technology, nuclear fission, right? We have made significant advances. There have been an enormous turning over, and then it stopped in the 40s. I wonder why. I wonder what happened. Why did we make so many advancements and then not a whole lot? There's still been some, right? The television, Wi-Fi, internet, but for the most part, those are extrapolations of what we discovered in the period just before this until just after this. And then we stopped. It has been refinements of ideas, but not really any new ones. That is because of the control systems. The issue between the old regime and the new, the crux of the social problem, is entirely a question of conviction in the minds of the people as to the nature of the universe. When they realize that the transcendent force of spirit, or mind of the cosmos, is within each individual, it will be possible to frame laws that shall consider the liberties and rights of the many instead of the privileges of the few. We're still waiting on that. As long as the people regard the cosmic power as a power non-human and alien to humanity, so long will it be comparatively easy for a supposed privileged class to rule by divine right, in spite of every protest of social sentiment. That has really changed, right? The predominant attitude now is not you have divine right. That has changed significantly since then, right? This was the fall of royalty, really, in Europe was around this time, right? Between the First and the Second World War was when we got rid of a lot of that. And so that part we made significant progress on. But again, that was then and not really now. There are still people who believe that, right? Some of these people who are currently in power, they believe that it is their right to rule by divine right and that they should not be questioned. That is absolutely a thing. If you don't believe that, you should see what happened in Canada in the last 4 years, or Australia, or New Zealand. And they didn't claim that they're kings, but they sure acted like it. The real interest of humanity is therefore to exalt, emancipate, and recognize the divinity of the human spirit, to recognize that all power is from within, that no human being has any more power than any other human being, except such as may willingly be delegated to him. The old regime would have us believe that the law was superior to the lawmakers. Herein is the gist of the social crime of every form of privilege and personal inequality, the institutionalizing of the fatalistic doctrine of divine election. That is not new, right? You can go back to the New Testament, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees were doing the same thing. You can go back to the Old Testament, and the Levites were doing the same thing. You can go back through different cultures and different histories, and it is the same problem repeatedly. And you can see that now, right? Some people still believe the old things. They have new ways to frame it, but they believe it. They believe that they are meant to do something that you're not. I'm the opposite, right? I'm here telling you all the time, anything I can do, you can do better. I firmly believe that. Now, there may be exceptions to that. There may be some people that can't do this. I don't know. It may be something different about me that makes me able to do it. I don't know. It could be being left-handed. It could be aphantasia. It could be heterochromia. It could be a myriad of things. I don't believe that, though. I believe that you can do anything I can do, that it is a matter of dedication that makes the difference, that taking the time to pray, fast, and meditate, that makes the difference. It really does. And most people, they don't do that. They do one part of it, and that's it. They're like, oh, I said my prayers, it's going to happen. Ain't how it works, boss. That is not the functionality there. There has to be an investment of energy, and just saying something is not that. There has to be more. I don't believe, like, this right here, this particular phrasing, right? The institutionalizing of the fatalistic doctrine of divine election is why I fell off. The entire unconventional Bible study is wrapped around that, right? I did the Bible study looking at it without the glasses of divine election. There was no chosen people. God will choose a person, but not a people, especially not the ones that were in that book, right? Going through and reading the conditions by which that rise happened, pretty terrible. Right? The divine mind is the universal mind. It does not act through sheer caprice or from anger, jealousy, or wrath. Neither can he be flattered, cajoled, or moved by sympathy or petition to supply man with some need which he thinks necessary for his happiness or even his existence. The divine mind makes no exceptions in favor of any individual, but when the individual understands and realizes his unity with the universal principle, he will appear to be favored, because he will have found the source of all health, all wealth, and all power. For the most part, that is true, right? You are going to manifest negatively and positively, depending upon you. But if you are in accordance with God, then you are set apart, right? And now, that is not saying that God said, right? That is, I am taking the time to invest the effort to be aligned with what the creator of the entire universe wants me to do. And so by doing that, you are favored. You are going to receive better benefits. That is one of the laws, right? That is part of the law of returns. You investing is returned multiplied by your intentions. And if your intentions are to be aligned with the divine, then you're going to receive that. For your next exercise, concentrate on the truth. That's a tough one. Try to realize that the truth shall make you free, that is, nothing can permanently stand in the way of your perfect success when you learn to apply the scientifically correct thought methods and principles. Realize that you are eternalizing in your environment your inherent soul potencies. Realize that the silence, meditation, offers an ever-available and almost unlimited opportunity for awakening the highest conception of truth. Try to comprehend that omnipotence itself is absolute silence. All else is change, activity, limitation. Silent thought concentration is therefore the true method of reaching, awakening, and then expressing the wonderful potential, power of the world within. And again, that is meditation, right? There are three absolutely necessary keys, right? Prayer, fasting, and meditation. You have to go, give your thanks, ask your questions, request your assistance, prepare your body to take that assistance, and then listen for the assistance. You have to listen for the guidance. It will be external from you, so you have to learn to shut your mind up. Find the silence. I do that in sitting meditation, and I do that walking down the road in meditation. I call it walking in the oneness. It is seeking the silence. It is silencing your own mind and allowing the thoughts to come from the external source and aligning yourself with the divine. That is definitely part of it. The possibilities of thought training are infinite, its consequences eternal, and yet few take the pains to direct their thinking into channels that will do them good, but instead leave them all to chance. Marden. Part 21 questions. What is the real secret of power? The consciousness of power, because whatever we become conscious of is invariably manifested in the objective world, is brought forth into tangible expression. And the exception I have with this is, even if you aren't aware of it, you can still bring it in, right? If you are focusing on the negative, you're probably not aware that you are focusing on the negative, but you are still doing it. And not being conscious of it is not going to change the fact that the negative will show up. Now, that is possible with the positive too, but generally speaking, you have to work to be more positive. What is the source of this power? The universal mind, the Holy Spirit, from which all things proceed, and which is one and indivisible. How is this power being manifested? Through the individual. Each individual is a channel whereby this energy is being differentiated in form. How may we connect with this omnipotence? Our ability to think is our ability to act on this universal energy, and what we think is what is produced and created in the objective world. What is the result of this discovery? The result is nothing less than marvelous. It opens unprecedented and limitless opportunity. How, then, may we eliminate imperfect conditions? By becoming conscious of our unity with the source of all power. What is the one distinctive characteristic of the master mind? He thinks big thoughts. He holds ideas large enough to counteract and destroy all petty and annoying obstacles. How do experiences come to us? Through the law of attraction. How is this law brought into operation? By our predominant mental attitude. What is the issue between the old regime and the new? A question of conviction as to the nature of the universe. The old regime is trying to cling to the fatalistic doctrine of divine election. The new regime recognizes the divinity of the individual, the divinity of humanity. And once again, I am going to point out that while you are a part of the divine, you are not divine yourself. That is an important distinction. You are a mortal. You are piloting your temple around in 5D space. You are the soul that is the individualized piece of divinity. You are a small section of God, but you are not a God. That is important. There are a lot of people out there who think that they are. You are not. Even if you can manifest, you are still not God. God is beyond you. God is beyond me. God is beyond all things. You can only really hold a concept of what God is. And if you are picturing a human in any form, you are doing it incorrectly. No thing that you can put your hands on, that you can actually see, is the entirety of God. Nothing. You cannot see all of the cosmos. That is God. Every single atom in existence is part of God. It is beyond your scope, and He is not a human. The power to think consecutively and deeply and clearly is an avowed and deadly enemy to mistakes and blunders, superstitions, unscientific theories, irrational beliefs, unbridled enthusiasm, fanaticism, haddock. And that is going to bring us to the end of our study in 21. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat difficult topic. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs and that I have a tendency to step on toes when I relay those beliefs. It is not intentional, but I do not apologize for it. I do have a better understanding. That doesn't make me necessarily special. I have simply put in the time. I have done the prayer, fasting, and meditation. I have understood the 8 laws of creation and applied them in my life in a productive manner. The fact that I can talk to you right now in this tone of voice is proof of manifestation. You may not know that because you haven't watched all of my videos. There's a lot of them. I don't blame you. But you can go back. You can go back all the way to the beginning and you can see that I could not talk like this. Now, the mic makes it a little bit funny because I can do all kinds of things with the filters and you can sometimes not make out the problems that I had. That doesn't mean that they weren't there. You can tell that my voice was weak by the end of 15 minutes. We're 42 minutes in and I am going strong. We're going to be doing another segment after this. That is a miracle. That is something that was not available to me even 6 months ago, right? By the end of an hour 6 months ago, I was done. By the end of 2 hours today, I am pretty much done, but that is a significant improvement. That is entirely through the will of God. I have asked, I have received, I have done the steps necessary to make it happen. I manipulated the energy. I decided that I needed the healing. I asked for it and it happened. I have outlaid the process by which that happened several times throughout this study and the rest of them. I'm not just pulling it out of my ass. I know what I'm talking about. I am here to give it to you freely as it is possible. I'm here to explain just a little bit more than you can find in these books. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And hopefully it's a little bit effective. I have had a few positive comments, so I'm going to assume that it is working. If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment if you agree or disagree. If it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If there is another work that you would like to see me go through in the manner that we are doing here, leave that in the comments as well. And if you really like what I'm doing, hit me with that super thanks. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.